Friends, in one of my recent videos, I had explained that Indra was the ruler of Egypt. He came to India and the Indians started sending tribute goods to him year after year. Apparently, he and his men had to come to India again to take part in the battle of 10 kings known as the Dasarajanya War, which took place at the banks of river Parasuni known as Ravi in modern-day Punjab. We come to know this from the hymns of Bharadwaja and Vasishtha in Rigveda Mandalas 6 and 7. This war took place around 510 years after the great flood of Noah, which is known as Mahajalapralaya of Manu in India. This places the time period of this war to be around 2790 BC. Now, when Indra came to India for the first time, his ally, the King Bharat, who was the biblical Shem, was old and still alive. By the way, the story I am telling here is not just linear but rather complex. Please try to grasp it. The King Bharat of India, who was the biblical Shem, was worshipping his father's god Yahweh by the name Narayana, meaning the one who rested upon the waters. Now I have to throw in that regular disclaimer that I make saying that Vishnu is not that Narayana because he was not even born then. But soon the biblical Cush, the son of Ham, came to India. He and his people hated Noah and his god Yahweh, known as Narayana in India, because Noah had cursed Cush's father Ham, and one can read it in the Bible. Now, Cush is called Kashyapa in India. He came with his tribesmen Vishwamitra and Krishna from the Mesopotamian city of Kish. This is the reason as to why Krishna called himself Kishan and Vishwamitra called himself Kaushik. As they arrived in India, Krishna took over a city named Kushasthali, probably from one of his kinsmen named Revataka, who had moved to India prior because the meaning of the city's name is Kusha's place. Krishna renamed the city to Dwarka after the Mesopotamian pilgrimage city Uruk, which was also called Dwarka. By the way, what I just said also questions the validity of all the childhood stories of Krishna in India because Krishna did not spend his childhood years in India. Furthermore, one need to realize that Kush and his people were not Indians. Kush himself was the owner of Africa, and the Indians used to call Africa Kushadvipa after his name. At their arrival, they mingled with people of two races, namely the Semitic and Japhetic, who are also called Bharatas and Purus in the Vedas, thereby creating people groups like the Dravidians in India. Now, Cush came to Kish in Mesopotamia because Dionysus drove him out of Egypt. Again, he came to India because he was driven out by Sargon the Great. Well, once in India, his companion Vishwamitra killed King Bharat, who was loved and respected by people, who was also known as Harishchandra, all because of the incitement of biblical Ham, who had become the Zoroaster in ancient Bactria. The reason? Religious animosity, friends. One can understand this story if they know how Yahweh God avenged King Bharat's death, who was the biblical Shem, the progenitor of the entire Semitic race, the proof of which is found in Rigveda, not in the Bible. Please watch my video, Who Burnt Kamadeva, for more details. After the death of King Bharat, his son Sudas came to power. A 10-king coalition was about to fight him. That's when Indra helped Sudas to defeat the coalition of tribes along the banks of river Parshuni, which is known as river Ravi nowadays. Rigvedic hymns state that Huktas, Balanas, Alinas, Shivas and all were defeated. According to Vedic scholar Shrikant Talageri, the defeated tribes moved westwards where Puktas became the Pashtuns, Balanas became Baluchis, Drihus became the Druids, Parthavas the Parthians, and Brihus the Pygrians, which led to the beginning of the Indo-European groups of people, friends. Now we begin to see not just some mythology, but a progression of history. Meanwhile, in case you wonder as to what they were fighting about in the first place, please let me cover it in a separate video because there is a lot to sink in this little video itself. Thanks for watching.